Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubh Das. Welcome to the show. This is episode 1432. Woo! Some pretty impressive. Our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, sitting here live with Miss Mara and the Super Soul Ashram. They say Haribol in the background. We had a little Bhagavad. We're having our morning and evening Bhagavad Gita classes. That's our new thing here at the farm. It's nice, isn't it?
Great.
Bathing the intellect. You feel clean after you read the Bhagavad. Right?
Yeah, it's been great.
Great.
We had a little something happening over here last night too. Right?
Oh, did you?
We did. It's not a competition.
It's not a
Don't
competition.
feel threatened in any way. I'm sure.
But we know it is.
I'm sure your thing was much better.
Tell me what you did better than mine.
But we had Akeshwar over.
Okay.
Maya over. Manohar from the Bhakti Center. Brahmachari from the Bhakti Center over. We're reading verses in glorification of Sri Chaitanya.
That sounds wonderful.
It was really great. Nothing like that. Just a few
There's
people get
nothing
together
like
relishing Shastra.
There's nothing like satsang. It's coming together, glorifying God, glorifying the devotees of God. You got to be careful out there, Kaustubh.
Yeah.
Got to be careful out there because sometimes people sometimes people have a lot of hate inside them. They got a lot of hate inside them. They've got a lot of, they have some narrative. I've seen this a lot, and I've seen it happen within spiritual circles.
What do?
They have a narrative that the world is out to get them.
Oh, yeah.
And that people are not to be trusted.
It can happen. The world can do that too if you're not careful.
Sure. Yeah, especially if you've had like a real abusive childhood, or people have just people in positions of love that didn't love and instead they hurt. Then you grow up thinking the whole world is actually out to hurt me, and that's the narrative that runs through the mind. And then you find like a spiritual movement. It doesn't have to be bhakti, but you see this in bhakti too. You find a spiritual movement and you feel like, finally, people that love and care. But then you see some shortcomings. That narrative is so loud in your consciousness that you find, instead of seeing the great things people do, you just start to see what they're doing wrong. And you start to lean into all of their faults. It's like the cup is half empty, but on steroids. And then you start to gravitate to, the Acharya, Prabhupada, who is, who's not alive anymore, at least in his physical presence. But you start to say, well, this person was perfect. All these other people, they're gonna endorse my narrative. They are cheaters. They're trying to manipulate us. And you see this going on and on. And the interesting thing is, if Prabhupada was alive, they'd find fault with him. But they want to make it seem like I have some special connection with this person, but all these other people don't. And the interesting thing is this, Kaustubh.
What's that?
That's like me saying, I just came up with this analogy this morning. That's like me saying, if I'm sticking my finger in an electric socket and I'm getting some shock, that means it's working. That means there's electricity. And for somebody to say, well, there's no electricity here. Well, I'm getting shocked from it. So something's happening. I'm plugging in the lamp and the lamp is going on. If their narrative was true, we wouldn't be becoming more attracted to Krishna, less attracted to material life. That theory is just not true, or else it wouldn't have the effect. I see people evolving in their bhakti all the time. And it's not because everybody's trying to cheat them except this one Madonna, this one pure person. There are great souls, and great souls carry on that tradition of bhakti. That's what this whole movement's about. And then you too can become a great soul. And then you too can pass it on to other people. Does that mean even if you're not a perfected being, you can still inspire people on their path. I don't think I'm a perfected being, But we get letters on our podcast all the time. Hey, thanks so much. That helped me. That took away some fog from my vision. That's because we get empowered, not just by our gurus, not by our mentors, not just by Prabhupada, not by Prabhupada's guru, not by Prabhupada's guru's guru, but by a whole lineage of spiritual ancestors who give us information and give us light and give us direction and lift us higher. And therefore we give it away, and that's how we get it more. What do you think about that, Kastuba?
I'm with you, Raghunath. It's kind of like, yeah, if you look at a tree and there's like fresh leaves growing on it, and you say, no, that tree's dead. It's like, how can you say it's dead? There's the proof right there. Now, of course, people can contest whether, whether what you're speaking about is real, or is it just you're imagining it. But
we're imagining our own spiritual life.
yeah, you're imagining. Well, they may say, well, where's the Krishna prema? Have you achieved Krishna prema? Then,
Have they? What gives them the discernment to
well, that's
understand?
there you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. All right.
Basically, it's like they're putting themselves in the position of the only person who has discernment. Everybody else is completely befuddled and befooled.
I mean,
But
you
they have deep spiritual insight.
I think what you're saying is what you could find that across different spiritual traditions, and probably even in other kind of traditions that aren't even spiritual, right? The same dynamics playing out.
There's always splinter groups, and
Yeah.
Christianity is all about different splinter groups that break
Sure.
away, and like they're pretty much the exact same thing. But I hate these guys.
Okay, but you've brought it kind of really into the realm of Vaishnavism, even Gaudiya Vaishnava, like our specific lineage.
Yeah.
I just completely forgot what I was going to say.
You went blank.
I had a point to make about it, but it slipped my mind. It'll probably come back.
How about see the good in people? See the good in people. How about walk into the world with the cup is half full? Not everybody's out to get me. The world is a good place. People see the good in people. And if they have some good, take that good, try to imbibe it into your life. Overlook people's shortcomings. This is how Vaishnavas behave. This is how Vaishnavas think.
Okay,
Use
there you go.
discernment.
You just helped me, Raghunath. It just came back.
I helped you. I can help you more today. I'm
No,
here
just
to
leave it
help
right
you.
there. You've done enough.
I'm here to help you. Come here. If you were here right now, I'd give you a big hug.
Okay.
I'd snuggle your neck right. Like
If you
put my
keep
head
talking,
right
I'm going to
there.
forget it again. So let me get this out right now.
Let me help.
But you know what? The Chaitanya Charitamrita, for those that are unfamiliar, it's like we're reading the Bhagavatam here, and the Bhagavatam is one of the ancient texts that come from the great sage Vyasadeva that date back to thousands and thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
But and from these ancient texts, different lineages have stemmed from, right?
Yeah.
But our lineage also has its own body of literature that's unique to this lineage, right? That
Yep.
dates back, going back up to 500 years ago when Sri Chaitanya appeared. And amongst that literature, this text, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, is very significant and very important, right? It's a large book. Our version of it has Srila Prabhupada's commentaries, and it's like 17-volume.
Yeah, it's like an encyclopedia of
Yeah.
a biography of.
Yeah, and so it's a biography of Sri Chaitanya, but more than a biography, right? It's like so much more, because really what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author, did was he also he played a role that was going on like in a lot of the different in several of the different bhakti lineages, kind of like in all the different states. Maybe not all of them, but in many of the different states of what are now the states of India, but the different regions of India, they all had their own language and their own unique cultures.
Yeah.
And at about 500 years ago, there's this wave of bhakti, right? Wherein several things happen. One is that these texts the same teachings of these texts were provided in books, new books, that had the same teachings, but in the local vernaculars, right? In the local languages.
Yeah.
So Chaitanya Charitamrita was where you got you got those teachings in the Bengali language, which meant that everyone, it just opened it up to everyone, because previously they would have to know Sanskrit, and It's like not so many people knew that. But it also, what he did was he took all of these philosophical books were written in Sanskrit by Sri Chaitanya's immediate followers, the six Goswamis in Vrindavan. These were kind of establishing the lineage, right? Kind of like spelling out philosophically, providing the theological and the philosophical positions that it takes, which are dense, sometimes difficult to understand unless you're a philosopher, texts. And he took all those teachings and he provided them in Bengali. He built them into the life story of Sri Chaitanya and provided and kind of amalgamated them in a way that's much easier for many people to understand. So that Caitanya Charitamrita is just incredibly rich in teachings, as well as the life story of Sri Chaitanya.
You know what I like about the Chaitanya? Okay, you're about to go to a bigger point because I'm about
the original point that I was going to get, but
okay.
the original point that I had forgotten. But if you want to say something about Chaitanya, please go right ahead. We'll get back to
You know what I like about Caitanya Charitamrita? Besides, it talks about Lord Chaitanya's mystical, all the mystical things he did, and besides, you learn Vaishnava behavior, how Vaishnavas relate with one another.
It's very important.
I love how in the purports Prabhupada will say something. If you go to the train station and get off in Calcutta and walk 3 blocks down, there'll be a small door, and in that door will be it'll give you like little maps, verbal maps. Door. It'll be a small.
If you open that door, turn to your left, walk 3 steps, and reach like up above
100 meters past the train station. It's so interesting.
Yeah, he talks about different temples, especially when he talks about Sri Chaitanya's travels, he talks about these different places. But so here's my point. So and you kind of just got it started. You said within that text, you understand what is it's demonstrated. What is the nature of how Vaishnavas relate with one another? How do they behave, right? And you can study those relationships because so many characters are laid out. And within that, you have like the super pure devotees and the humility that they express. You hear about, was it Raghunath Bhatta Goswami that just could not tolerate to hear any criticism of Vaishnava? He would just like walk away immediately. It was like poison. He just couldn't take it,
It's good attitude. That's the way to be. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
It makes me sick. I'm here in Vrindavan. I'm absorbing my mind in Krishna, and you're bringing this in. I just can't take it.
That's the way we should be. Not trying to find out what gurus are cheaters, and I don't want to hear any bad talk.
All right, no. Okay. Now and then you hear, like, for instance, there's one character, Ramachandra Puri.
He's a character, huh?
He's a character. They said that when Sri Chaitanya was in Puri, Ramachandra Puri, he would do things like, there are people that are like this. He would invite him over, feed him, encourage him.
Invite Lord Chaitanya over.
He would invite Lord Chaitanya over, feed him. As a senior to him, he would encourage him to eat more. And because he's my senior, I feel like I should honor his request, although I wouldn't normally eat so much. Then he would criticize you for eating too much. Right. And he was criticizing Sri Chaitanya so much. He had all these different things, and Sri Chaitanya, his response was like, okay, he's giving me good advice. I should be living more strictly as a sannyasi. Even he was criticizing in ways like he would say, look, there's ants in his, in his room. It's like, that's proof that he's like storing sweets away and doing things. No sannyasi should be doing like this.
And the interesting thing is,
like, ants are everywhere in India. You look, it's like, it doesn't prove.
But there's a great instruction there, because we feel like I never want to be correct. I don't like people correcting me. What to speak of if they're wrong? So in every situation with Ramachandra Puri, he's actually not actually right. But Lord Chaitanya, instead of like arguing, pushing back, oh, this person is envious of me, we just say, okay, you got a good point there.
I can learn something.
Got a good point there.
But here's my point.
What's your
point
here?
Is that we can read Caitanya Charitamrita and look at all the characters and say, who am I in that story? In other words, whose behavior am I emulating? Or say, who in our sangha, because we can assume that those prototypes are playing out in our Sangha, right?
Right.
And so then we could say, who amongst
Like
us are
when
the
you
Rama?
correct me, like who are you emulating?
I'm sorry?
Like when you correct me, like who are you emulating?
Do I correct you so much? Or you correct me so much? No, really what I should say is you're right, Raghunath. You're right. Look, here my could I please get my point out?
I've been waiting, man. My squirrel and me are just sitting here for your point.
No, you haven't been waiting. You've been okay. Here it goes. We can look amongst our Sangha and say, who are the Ramachandra Puris?
Yeah.
And they're these people that are fixated. You know, it's not that there's never a time for correction or never a time for constructive criticism, but some people are focused on constantly criticizing. We should be able to understand that that's not a reliable source of truth. That's not a reliable source of understanding. That's a person that has an issue. If that's your natural mode, if everything that you post on Facebook is critical, you know, we can understand, oh, we have a Ramachandra Puri like in the Sangha here, right? You know, it's not that you might say anything. That there is room for constructive criticism. There has to be.
Sure.
But if
there was
people
a time
are fixated on criticism, that should tell us something.
when we were brahmacharis, it was almost like we had a sign on our back that said "correct me." It was like everybody would just feel like I have the right to correct this guy and chastise him or correct him,
Which isn't so great either. But
it isn't so great. But our mood should be that instead of pushing back, I'm just going to sort of own it, especially if in fact we are out of line or we were sort of a little lazy or a little not so maybe inefficient, and we were corrected. But sometimes there was times where we got corrected. We actually really sort of did nothing wrong, but we got corrected.
yeah.
And in those periods, I'm happy to say that I just practiced taking it anyway. For all the times that I've got away with stuff, I felt like, you know what? Okay, I didn't do what they're trying to correct me for, but I've gotten away with stuff, and we grow up anyway with all these defense mechanisms and protecting the ego. It was actually refreshing to correct me and chastise me for something I didn't do. And it's not like you're being slavish and codependent and stuff like that. It's just like you're just not going to let.
If there's anything to learn from it, even if it isn't applicable in this situation, it's still applicable.
Yeah, it's going to make it. Yeah, you're just going to accept whatever you get.
Right. Right.
It was a good move. Now I'm real touchy. I'm real touchy.
Okay.
Say anything, I'm on the defense.
That's why when I mentioned we had a little Sangha over here, I was just careful to say, Raghunath, yours was better.
Yeah, everything is good.
Okay. What are
All right, that might have been enough for our nugget then. Maybe we should save this.
The nugget was really important to what we're going to read today, though. But maybe we could pull it out.
Let's pull it out later and make it sound like we're deep thinkers and we're just widely read.
Okay.
We'll pull it out. Well, it's similar to something Michelangelo once said.
There's a spoiler right there.
Okay.
Did we get announcements from Merit this morning?
No, we jumped right over her head.
Wow.
Miss Mara, what you got for me?
Join us for our spiritual pilgrimage to sacred India, October
That's
7th.
over. You guys got to figure. If you didn't do that, registration's over. Do it quick.
Register today.
Register today, or the train's going without you.
It's going to be
Come
so
to
nice.
Jodhpur, Udaipur, Nathwar, Rishikesh, Haridwar, Govardhan, Vrindavan. October 17th through 31st.
I'm going to be waiting for you there, Raghunath, in Rishikesh.
Yeah, because he was meeting us in Rishikesh.
That's great.
He's the Rishi we've been waiting for.
Rishikesh, the hair of the Rishi.
What? Is that what it means? What are you talking about?
Yeah, Kesha.
Hair?
Why everything I say, you snap back with such skepticism.
I've never heard that. What does that mean? Say that.
Rishikesh. Could you look that up, Mara? Rishikesh.
Rishikesh, you think means the hair of the Rishi?
It has to do with the hair of the Rishi. Kesha, like Keshava.
Rishikesh.
Refers to Krishna's
Right,
hair.
what does Rishikesh mean? I thought it's the rishis who can. First, his
My
name.
little deity of Lord Chaitanya, I call him Sucharu Kesha Mahaprabhu. He has very beautiful hair. What you got, man?
Okay, here it is. Here is. I appreciate your translation, but here's what Google G says.
Yeah.
Rishikesh is a name for Lord Vishnu, composed of Rishika, meaning senses, and Isha, meaning Lord, for a combined meaning of Lord of the Senses.
Keep
The
looking
name
further.
commemorates an apparition of Lord Vishnu to Raibya Rishi as a result of his tapasya. It, in most circumstances, has nothing to do with hair.
No, you're lying.
Doesn't
I
say
see.
But it didn't mention hair.
Well,
You
keep
know,
looking,
there's
Mary.
if
You
you
keep
if you
looking.
study Sanskrit, there's ways to break up every word that means you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the word Madhava can have so many meanings. All these Sanskrit words have so many meanings, and acharyas give their.
Sounds like you're backpedaling and a
I'm
little
not
bit
backpedaling. I'm
afraid.
trying to endorse your theory because I've never ever heard the thing. I've
Keep
never
looking,
ever
man.
heard it
You'll
mean
find
hair,
something.
but I'm sure somebody made it mean hair once.
I think a lot of people have, Raghunath.
I'll keep on researching this.
Keep-
Maybe
Yeah,
we can move
yeah,
on
no,
with the show.
yeah. You're not gonna find anything in there. Okay, continuing on.
Oh, Anna Ciro says,
The hair of Lord Shiva. What does Anna Ciro say? On
the
board?
hair of Lord Shiva, said Shamasundari.
Rishikesh means the hair of Lord Shiva. Huh. So Kastuba's worshiping Lord Shiva, perhaps. Okay.
I do
Okay.
worship
And
Lord
Manish
Shiva.
says Rishi means sage or seer.
Oh, Manish says this. Okay,
And
now
Kesh means hair. Hence, Rishikesh can be interpreted as the one with the locks of a sage.
there we go. Bring on the message board.
All right.
Okay, let's get to the Bhagavatam.
I
Ryan,
think there's a particular story about how Rishikesh got that name and had to do with the sage and his hair, but
Google
slip
that.
in my memory.
How did the city of Rishikesh get its name? There. Ryanam namaskritya naram chaiva devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in class in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Timurandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Midatam Yena Hasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 3, Text 14. I just want to say, Mare is knitting away. She's been knitting since our very first episode. And she listens to the Bhagavatam and she knits the Bhagavatam into these scarves. And she calls them Shravanam scarves. So if you're coming to that Wisdom of Sages retreat, you want to get a Shravanam scarf. We've got every scarf she ever knitted up there on display for sale for your holiday gifts. We never talk about your scarves anymore. Oh, Mary, you got some info on Rishikesh here?
Well, yeah, it does look like it does look like it's also called this. Let's see. The whole area was famous as Kandarkan, mentioned in the Skanda Purana. Raibya Rishi selected the place for his long penance or tapasya. Lord Vishnu was pleased by his act, appeared to the sage as a rishikesh. The word is a combination. We said that. The Shtala Purana states as follows. Raibya Rishi preferred the sacredness and beauty of the place where Lord Vishnu appeared, so he remained there in the form of intense plants, which look like his matted locks. In consideration of this and the divine qualities of Raibya Rishi, the area recognized as Rishikesh, or the hair of the Rishi. And then Skanda Purana mentioned that Lord Vishnu blessed Raibya Rishi and gave him the divine message. When you have performed supreme tapasya by controlling your senses, let the place be recognized as Rishikesh.
Let it be recognized as Rishikesh.
Oh, I recognize it. I recognize it.
And let me be recognized as right and you as wrong.
That I won't do. But I'm very excited to go to Rishikesh. It's a very special place.
All right.
Alrighty.
Where are we at? Text 14, you said, right?
Yes.
Raghunath, this text is so full of
It's chock full of
profound.
joy.
We need to read this text and we need to read the commentary, okay? Our elephant friend. He was a beautiful elephant, Raghunath. He was a good elephant. It's like those other creatures, it did mention they felt protected by him,
Yeah.
He was popular. He was a very popular elephant.
Yeah.
And everybody's watching him go down. Oh, that had to be shocking.
Yeah. When you see people who are like incredibly strong, incredibly and they too can die. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was almost like he's the most powerful being. But then he starts to go into these prayers that's saying, no, I'm not the powerful one.
It's not me.
It's not me. It's Lord Vishnu. And he's glorifying Lord Vishnu in different ways. And this verse is very important. Let's hear text 14.
My Lord, you are the observer of all the objectives of the senses, and without your mercy, there is no possibility of solving the problem of doubts.
Okay.
The material world is just like a shadow resembling you. Indeed, one accepts this material world as the result. Material world as real. One accepts this material world as real because it gives a glimpse of your existence.
Oh, okay.
That's a great one, huh?
It
We
reminds me
accept
of
the
something
material world.
Michelangelo once said.
Oh yeah, tell me what you've been reading Michelangelo. Tell me.
Well, he said a true work of art, the true work of art.
Oh, there's something about the shadow of perfection.
Yeah, you've heard that before?
Yeah.
He said the true work of art is but a shadow of the divine perfection. In other words, it lacks something of what it's shadowing or what it's reflecting, right? But it gives you, in other words,
Like a hint.
it gives you a hint of understanding what is divine, that there's something beyond the realm of our kind of limited perception. And art can kind of give you a hint of that, give you some kind of, it can point towards it, So indeed, one accepts this material world is real. First of all, it says it's a shadow, right? The material world is just like a shadow resembling you. Indeed, one accepts this material world is real because it gives a glimpse of your existence. In a sense, it's real. In a sense, it's unreal. But to us, it feels real because of the substance that's behind the shadow, the substance that the shadow can't exist without, right? The truth. There's a lot to talk about here, but let's read Prabhupada's commentary.
To paraphrase this verse, the objective of sensual activities are actually observed by you. Without your direction, the living entity cannot take even a step forward. As confirmed in the Bhagavad-gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivisto mata smrti jnanam apoanam cha. You are situated in everyone's heart, and only from you come remembrance and forgetfulness.
Okay.
Right? You want to remember? Krishna will help you remember. If you want to forget, Krishna's like, sure, you can forget me. I'll just disappear, blend into the background, blend into the environment. You won't even notice I'm here. Krishna will give you that.
Yeah.
Chayeva yasya bhuvanani bibarti durga. The living entity under the clutches of Maya wants to enjoy this material world, but unless you give him directions and remind him, he cannot make progress in pursuing his shadowy objective in life.
And that's the little turtles. We can get back to that, but
the conditioned soul wrongly progresses towards the wrong objective, life after life. And he's reminded of that objective by you.
Okay, this is interesting. Let's just pause for a second here.
Yeah.
So yesterday we're talking, towards the end, we talked a little bit about in popular culture right now, in YouTube and in popular books, there's debates around theism and atheism.
Yeah.
And for all, as much as I love a lot of the beauty and the teachings and the wisdom of the Christian tradition, sometimes these arguments are specifically focused against Christianity, right? The atheistic arguments are
Right.
specifically focused against Christianity. And I don't always find the answers, the best response. Sometimes they're like, but, if you just
Right.
understood, so like you'll get an argument from an atheist saying, well, if you have this compassionate God, and the only way out of all of this suffering is to surrender unto him, why doesn't he just why is it so hard to figure this out? If he actually cares about you and loves you, why doesn't he just make it glaringly obvious?
Right. Like whatever, just like
Why doesn't he write it
descend
across the
publicly,
sky?
right across the sky, descend publicly in every major city in America.
Yeah. Yeah. It would, if he's all powerful, it'd be so easy for him to do. So if he did care
why
for
doesn't he do that? Maybe he will.
Okay. So it's a consent, and I see the Christian struggle with, they'll give answers that kind of, not that they don't have answers for it, but the answers kind of go into that, well, everything is mysterious, and
right.
Or
they'll have this, he's coming. He's coming back. You'll see that the Bible is just not like
but
a
it'll
storybook.
be too late then. It'll be too late
because it's too late if you don't accept him now.
Yeah.
Well, can I accept
How
him
do I
then at the
know?
last? I can't accept him at the last moment. Nope, sorry. Got to accept him this moment. Well, what? Look at the big course of time. What's the difference if I accept him now or right when he shows up? Sorry, he only accepts those who got like
You have to have reservations.
You have to have reservations to get
Sorry,
in.
we're all booked up.
Wait, I made a mistake. I want to accept him now. Sorry.
All right.
Mean God.
So that's there's our answer to that is this is addressing that question here. Very interesting statements in Bhagavad-gita, where Krishna says that those who worship the devas for material things, ultimately they're worshiping me, because those devas are my representatives, and whatever they provide is ultimately provided by me.
Mm-hmm.
So he says they're worshiping them, but they're worshiping them in the wrong way, right? He literally says, what is it? Avidi purvakam. They're doing it in a way that lacks understanding, that lacks knowledge, right?
Yeah.
But he still says, but if someone has faith in a demigod, and they're worshiping them, and let's be clear, worshiping them means beginning to regulate my life, beginning to express some gratitude. It brings good things out of you, that worshiping that deva, right? It brings some good out of you. So Krishna says, if they have faith in that deva, I'll encourage them in that faith. Rather than saying, I'm a jealous God, and unless you worship me, you're going to hell. He says, okay, in a sense, when they worship the deva, they're worshiping me. But they're doing it on the platform they're on, right? Because they want the material things of this world. They don't want my love. They have another priority in life right now. It's like a very mature parent, right? With patience, saying, okay, they're not interested in my love right now, but this is positive for them, moving towards that worship of the deva, that recognition through ritual, and that trying to live a better life karmically, be kinder to others, be more generous, charitable. All these things are good. I'll encourage them from within. I will give them messages that encourage them in that worship of another person as God, because it'll keep them moving in the right direction. And if they want to turn away from me, if they choose that I'm not interested in you right now, well, then I will facilitate I will open up the doors for them to experiment with this world, to experiment with its pleasures and its pains, with the idea that will also be a path of learning for them, right? Without my interfering with their freedom. So it's kind of like saying, if the parents have the good interest of the child in mind, well, why didn't the parents just tell the child that I have your good interest in mind? And it's like, well, we have told the child, but the child wants to learn in another way, Okay, I'll facilitate that. So that's why God doesn't write it across the sky, because we've said, don't call me, don't text me, I want to experiment in the material realm. I want to forget that there's someone more powerful than me. I want to enter into that virtual reality and play around in it.
Mm.
And God is saying, all right, I'll let you into the virtual reality, and I won't dominate the virtual reality in such a way where you're constantly thinking of me. Go ahead and play.
We tell God, don't call me, I'll call you.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
And God actually says, okay, if that's what you want,
Sure.
you can do that.
Isn't that beautiful? Krishna says, yeah, you want material. I'm only here because you've been calling me. And sometimes we do call Krishna and we get something lodged. I like this analogy. It's a good analogy. It's like the hook has been set in our heart. There has been a sweet kirtan or sweet devotees and sweet prasad, sweet exchanges, sweet philosophy, sweet culture, sweet experience in India or on a pilgrimage. And something happened to our heart. And I've been going through my own personal hell. I was an alcoholic, or I was making bad choices, or I was, hung out with crazy people, or what. This is so much better. I love this so much. But then as we progress down the path, we're like, oh, maybe I was a little too fanatical. Maybe I was too wrapped up in this. Maybe there's other things I've all the material desires start to come up on us again, because we're always asked to choose. Do you want Krishna or do you want the material energy? And as long as you're choosing Krishna, Krishna will show up for you on a regular basis. But once you say, I want the material energy, Krishna will say, oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
He'll
I thought
just
you wanted
observe.
me.
He'll observe.
And just
you
like
going
these,
through that,
what do they call these sports fishermen? They just let the fish run with the line. The hook's already been set, but they're fighting so much. The sports fisherman says, just go with it. And they'll just go, I'm free. And they're feeling like I'm free in the material world. But because we've had that taste for Krishna, nothing of the material world seems good anymore. And there are these two potencies of Maya. We were talking about this in our last night Bhagavad-gita class.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the Sanskrit. Maybe you do. Maybe
I forget the covering and the kicking.
The covering. The first thing Krishna does when you turn away from Krishna, or Maya does, is Maya, the illusory potency, covers you. And you start to think, you know what? Material world's pretty good. I was a little fanatical. What was I thinking? The material world's not so bad. I like the material world. The material world's a good place to be. I was too wrapped up in this religion. Maybe it was in a cult or something like that. So she covers you, makes you feel like everything's great in Maya. And then she kicks you repeatedly by the material energy kicks you. I've seen this happen again and again to other people. I've seen it happen to me. You get so beat up by the material energy. It's like that fish. He's fighting so hard to get away and then just exhausted in the material world. And it's in that exhaustion with that hook set. If you have that piety, I mean, you have that sukriti, that spiritual piety that Krishna has touched your heart at one point in your life, even a little, you'll turn back towards Krishna and say, Krishna, what was I thinking? I want you. And then it just gets sweeter and sweeter. But sometimes we have to fight. And Krishna's like, that's okay. You go do what you be. Krishna says, you be you. You do what you need to do.
Within that atheist argument, there's a couple false presumptions.
What?
Right? Well, one is the false presumption that God is attached to us worshiping him.
Right. That's how Krishna is presented.
He's renounced, right? He's self-satisfied. He's Atma-Rama.
You do what you want to do.
Yeah.
He tells Arjuna that.
Yeah. So that's one false presumption. He's quite all right without us not worshiping him, although he's really, on a personal level, he's really ready for us to come back. But he's quite all right without us worshiping. That's one false presumption. And the other false presumption, I'm forgetting things today. I had it in my mind a second ago. What was it?
You're thinking of Rishikesh hair right now. That's what you're thinking.
All right. Well, maybe I'll come back to that. But in any case, so here Prabhupada is saying, Sarvasya chaham hridishana vishto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha, that we are this little spark of energy that basically does nothing but desire. And based on that desire, he'll reveal things to us. He'll cover things from us. He'll give us remembrance of something, or he'll give us forgetfulness of something, even forgetting him. If you want to forget me, okay, I'll facilitate that too. It's a more nuanced understanding of God. The God that they're arguing against is a very simplistic conception of God. All
Oh,
right.
interesting. Huh? It's such an interesting concept. Yeah, you want to forget me? That's okay.
Yeah.
He'll sort of, I was saying this morning in our morning Bhagavad-gita class how Krishna will just hide himself from you. He'll be even right in front of your eyes. But ever see those stick bugs? They look like
Yeah.
sticks, but they're bugs. They're like insects. And if you don't know
Walking
what you're
stick.
looking for, it just looks like, oh, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. I'm looking around a bunch of sticks. But there's actually one stick just like, doop, 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 like look at it. It's a stick bug. Krishna becomes like that
Called a
stick bug. He
walking
just
stick, right?
a walking stick. He camouflages right in front of the background. You don't even notice he's there. He's right in front of your face. Krishna is right in front of our faces. And as soon as we pull back and say, you know what? The material energy has a lot to offer. These guys are a little bit, in their tilak and their robes and their hairy bowls. And it's a little too much. Krishna's like, okay, well, the walking stick. He pulls back, becomes the stick bug.
Yeah.
Camouflages right into nothingness.
Well, so it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Tell me.
Because a walking stick
Ooh,
is something like a reflection or shadow
of a
of
stick.
a real stick,
Okay.
right? It appears like it's not, but it appears it has certain attributes, certain characteristics that are very stick-like.
Oh yeah.
Right? And so we may not see the walking stick within the pile of sticks.
I don't think
That's
it's
there.
called a walking stick. I think a walking stick's called the walking stick. What are those stick
No,
bugs
they're
called?
called they go by both names.
Oh,
Stick
bears.
insects, stick bugs, walking sticks, and
Learn
bug
to
sticks.
trust me, Raghunath. Learn to trust. Thank you, Mara. Raghunath, learn to trust me. What were you calling them? Stick bugs? I don't think anybody calls them stick bugs.
All right. Anyway.
No, but let me complete this point.
Okay.
So this verse is saying that indeed one accepts this material world as real because it gives a glimpse of your existence. We accept the walking stick as being a stick because it gives a glimpse of what a stick is like.
Okay.
And we accept this world as being real because it gives a glimpse of what real existence is like. This is a key to understanding the mysteries of the universe,
Yeah. You like this analogy of the walking stick?
I very much liked it.
Yeah,
Raghunath.
you can keep this. I give this to you.
Thank you
I made it up this morning.
for that
You can-
benediction. I appreciate that.
You keep it. Use it for your.
You're very active this morning.
You know what? I'm an active man.
Okay. Why don't we continue acting by reading this commentary?
By the way, the Nityananda Chandra writes on the message board, proxepatmika means gatekeeping, aka
Covering? Oh, one's covering, one's kicking. You started reading that before you really read it, Raghunath.
I
You
didn't. I
thought
gotta
about
read it before I read it. Which one's the kicking one? Gatekeep. Anyway, let's go back to the
Okay.
purport.
Do you remember where you were?
The living
you read
entity under
Matas
the clutches
Mitra
of Maya. Yeah. Yeah. The living entity under the clutches of Maya wants to enjoy this material world, but unless you give him directions and remind him, he cannot make progress in pursuing his shadowy objective of life in life. The conditioned soul wrongly progresses towards the wrong objective life after life, and he is reminded of that objective by you. In one life, the conditioned soul desires to progress towards a certain objective, but after his body changes, he forgets everything.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, my Lord, because he wants to enjoy something of this world, you remind him of this in his next birth. Mata smriti gyanam apoanam cha.
From
Because-
me comes remembrance and forgetfulness.
Hmm.
Krishna says.
Because the conditioned soul wants to forget you, by your grace, you give him opportunities, life after life, by which he can almost perpetually forget you. Therefore, you are eternally the director of the conditioned souls. It is because you are the original cause of everything that everything appears real. The ultimate reality is your lordship, the supreme personality of Godhead. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I tell you, even if I wasn't interested in God, it's like we're offering a better meal at the table. What a dark, depressing world where everything is just made up of material elements. There's no actual thing as love. Love is fabricated in the mind. Everything is completely subjective, meaning, charity or human trafficking. It all means nothing. It's all a world of nothing. Who can live like that? Who can wake up in the morning and go to work for nothing when it's all about nothing? It's all about why work? Why not just lay on your couch? Because you're going to get evicted from your home. How can anybody apply this if they think a little bit deep about life and just wake up and smile in the morning?
I think there's truth in what you're saying, Raghunath.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's continue with this commentary. Prabhupada's going to talk about a phrase that was in the verse that we just read.
Where are we?
The
word sarva pratyaya hetave is explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So he's an acharya that lived a few hundred years ago, and he comments on this. He says that as a result, who says that a result gives one a glimpse of its cause. For example, since an earthen pot is the result of the actions of a potter. By seeing the earthen pot, one can guess at the existence of the potter. Similarly, this material world resembles the spiritual world, and any intelligent person can guess how it is acting. As explained in the Bhagavad-gita, Mayad yakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Right? Krishna is saying, I'm observing everything of this world. It's all going on by me, my glance.
Under my supervision.
The activities of this material world suggest that behind them is the superintendence of the Lord, right? We say a creation without a creator. How can that be? Shelter, circa 1991.
Yeah, what Prabhupada is saying here is through inference, we can kind of put things together, right? If there was that interesting phrase, he said that a result gives a glimpse of its cause, right? And that's also, I think that's connecting with what Michelangelo was saying about art. A true work of art is but a shadow of the divine perfection. It gives you a glimpse of divine perfection. It's not divine perfection itself, but it helps you understand something about divine perfection. In the same way, by looking at this world, which is a result, then it should tell us something about the cause. Sure. And that cause, in one sense, is the fundamental question of the mystery of the universe. Like, what is the cause of it? You have atheists who are using science to try to disprove that there is a cause. I think this is something that we get into tomorrow. But they're saying that they get to a point in time where they stop and they say there was no time before this. And we're saying you can't go start creating new rules now, there's
right.
We're living in a world of cause and effect, and you can keep tracing. If you look at an effect, then the natural thing is to say what caused it, and then you recognize that cause as an effect itself, and you say what was the cause of that, and you keep going back in a chain. They're saying the chain ends at a point where time started, and then they'll use analogies to try to get us not to question what's before that. Like they'll say, it's like if you go north all the way to the North Pole, you can't say what's further north. There is no further north. And so if you go back to the point of the beginning of time, you can't say what was before that because there was no time before that. But it's not a satisfying answer. And what we're saying is that this energy that you say is the only energy, the material energy, has laws of cause and effect. Any effect demands a cause. We're saying there's another type of energy where time is not in the equation. There's another type of energy where time is not an element in the recipe. And so therefore that is eternal. And it can spin off causes eternally without having a cause itself. And Krishna is the cause of of everything, right? He's the cause of all the causes within this universe. And we also have an explanation saying that the time is cyclical. So even if you can go back in time to like an origin moment, that's an origin that's following a destruction, a previous destruction, right? It's a sensible model for creation that can't be disproven. And it's something that was spoken about by these sages thousands and thousands of years ago, expressed in fantastic Sanskrit poetry that is holding really important ideas that are still holding up today, no matter how hard they're working to try to pull them down. That should tell us something about, even if you don't want to say it proves anything, it's certainly some very valuable evidence that requires a respectful engagement with, right? And in what sense, that's all we're asking. Let's engage with this respectfully. Let's give it a chance. Let's take a real, honest, deep look into this. There's some really important sources of information that have been around for a very long time. They're obviously produced by incredibly intelligent people, at the very least, right? Let's hear what they have to say. All right. Well, there'll be more to hear from them tomorrow. Mara?
Ready for some takeaways?
Raghunath is lost. He's lost.
No, I'm found.
You're lost in the chat board, Raghunath.
That's
Poke him. Just keep
the
that
chat
poke.
board on our podcast is so spiritually conscious that I'm found when I read it.
All right.
I'm asking, are you found? That's the question. Ask yourself that.
All right. I'll do that.
Don't
today.
bring fault finding and distrust into spiritual circles.
Yeah, you want to be
Doesn't
the Ramachandra
help.
Puri?
Am I acting like Ramachandra Puri?
Am I?
Yeah, are you?
Maybe I am.
Ask yourself.
See the good in people?
Come on, Kastuba. Kastuba Law.
It felt like
I was walking
criticizing me.
somewhere yesterday laughing about that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Kastuba Law. Little Kastuba G.
What? Do you want baby pictures or something? Like I can
I've
help
already got
you.
a whole set of a photo album of Kastuba Lal in my head. Baby
Okay.
Kastuba.
Study the relationships of the Vaishnavas.
Hold my pinkies. I'll help you walk.
Even the strongest and most popular elephant will go down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Art hints towards divine perfection.
That's right.
Just like a painting without a painter. Absurdity.
The lyrics.
Lyrics.
Krishna is facilitating our growth according to our desires.
Yeah, according to how we desire.
Yeah.
We're always being asked to choose between Krishna and Maya.
What do you want? What do you want today?
Krishna says, you do you.
You do you.
I like that one. Krishna says, you do you. And what do we say to Krishna? What was the one I said I thought was pretty funny this morning?
Leave me alone. Don't call.
Don't call me.
Don't call me.
Don't call me Krishna. I'll call you. You be you.
The
But
result.
it's a fact when people break up, right? When you break up, they say
don't call-
they break off their social media connection. They say, "Don't call me. Don't text me." It's like,
Unfollow
leave me
me.
alone.
Krishna.
Block.
Blocking Krishna.
Yeah.
Reporting him.
And I don't think you report them.
I'm going to report Krishna to Krishna.
The result gives a glimpse of the cause.
The result gives a glimpse of the cause.
And Krishna is a walking stick bug.
What?
Or the material
Krishna is
world
a
is a walking stick bug.
But Krishna's like right in front of you, but you just don't see him.
Aha! How about Krishna's right in front of your face? Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for being part of this community, the Zoom community. I want to thank you guys for showing up on time. All these others out there just listening to this podcast whenever they want to. Who do they think they are? You guys show up every day religiously at the right exact time. Let's see who's here, Mara.
Hold
Say-
it, this is a good one right here from Arthur Decker.
Arthur Decker, what does he say? Oh, now you're reading the message board. There's a lot
Yeah,
of wisdom
now it's an
there.
appropriate time.
Yeah, now
There's a lot of wisdom there.
Ghosting Krishna, bad idea. That's what we're doing. We're ghosting Krishna.
We're ghosting Krishna.
Oh, how about this one from Register?
Ego edging God out. Ego
Edging
edging God. Oh, I like that.
Oh.
Register.
Oh,
Wait. It's what do they call those? What do you call?
Acronyms.
An acronym, yes.
An acronym?
Wait. Go back to that. Ego means
Edging
edging God out. Very good. Very good.